Last homework, homework 3 in chapter 9. I told you chapter 9 was short, and it is. And so let's get after homework number 3. What are non-conventional cash flows, and what problem do they cause? All right. A non-conventional cash flow, or set of cash flows, is project cash flows that change signs more than once over the life of the project. For example, the first cash flow is negative, the next few cash flows are positive, and the final cash flow is negative. Okay? So the cash flow sign started at negative and then changed to positive. That is one sign change. It stayed positive for several cash flows, and then it changed to a negative number, like when you have to clean up a site after you've shut a business down. So it went negative, positive, negative. That's two sign changes, and that is called an unconventional cash flow. The problem it causes is it creates multiple internal rates of return. The way the math works is that there's more than one internal rate of return that equates the net present value to 0. So the calculator does not know this, and the calculator will only give you one internal rate of return and one net present value, and so one internal rate of return, I'm sorry, and it doesn't know that there are other internal rates of return out there. And that internal rate of return, there could be one internal rate of return that is below your cost of capital, and the rule is if your internal rate of return exceeds your cost of capital, let's say the cost of your capital is 10%, but you earn 8% on an investment. You don't do the project. If you earn, let's say your cost of capital is 10% and you earn 12% on a project, then you do the project because you generate a return that is higher than your cost of capital. Okay. Question 2, what are mutually exclusive projects and what problem do they cause? All right, a mutually exclusive project is having to choose between multiple projects, but choosing one project excludes or prohibits you from doing the other projects. Mutually exclusive means you can only do one. The issue is whether to choose projects that generate a higher net present value or a higher internal rate of return. Sometimes a project will have a higher net present value. Project A might have a higher net present value than Project B, but a lower internal rate of return than Project B. And they're mutually exclusive. You can only do Project A or B. Do you do the project with the higher net present value, or do you do the project with the higher internal rate of return? And the answer is you do the project with the higher net present value. Okay? Remember, value is measured by the amount of free cash flow that a project creates, the present value of it. All right. Compute the internal rate of return for the following project. Also compute the net present value. Use two discount rates. Okay? So we're going to compute net present value and internal rate of return using two discount rates. Now the discount rates are only used for the net present value. All right. So here are the projects. Here's the project. Make sure your calculator is cleared. CFO equals 17,000 plus minus. CO1, 16,000. Enter down arrow. FO1 is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Enter down arrow. And you are at CO, you should be at CO5, but the calculator will say CO2, but it's not, it's CO5. And enter 52,000 plus minus. Enter down arrow, and then NPV I equals 6.765. Okay. Enter down arrow and compute, and you should get a net present value of 0. Okay? Now, the only thing we're going to change, so hit NPV I equals, and change 6.675, 6.6765 to 65.36. Boy, that's a much higher rate of return. Enter down arrow and compute. So you're not changing the cash flows, you're just changing your discount rate. Enter down arrow, compute, and you get an NPV of 0. Once again, so you get a net present value of 0 when your discount rate is 65% and when your discount rate is just under 7%. Multiple internal rates of return. So remember, when your net present value is 0, that means this is your internal rate of return. That is the definition of internal rate of return, when your net present value is 0. All right, let's erase this and go on to the next question. Make sure we're going. Yeah, we're going. Okay. Which of the two mutually exclusive projects should a company pursue? So project A, okay, and the cost is, so CF0 equals minus 10 million. Okay, and in year 1, so CO1, let's go ahead, let's not say year 1, let's say CO1 is 10 million, and CO2 is also 10 million. Okay, and K, so IY. All right, so let's enter let's enter it in. All right, so make sure your calculator's clear. CF0 equals 10 million plus minus, enter down arrow. CO1, 10 million, enter down arrow. FO1 equals 2, enter down arrow. NPV I equals 10%, 10, enter, down arrow, compute, and the NPV is $7,335,372. Then hit IRR, compute, and you get 61.8%. Okay? Now let's look at project B. Okay? Same cost is 1 million. So CFO equals minus $1 million. Year 1, CO1 equals 2 million. And CO2 is 1 million. And okay, so CF0 equals 1 million plus minus, enter, down arrow. CO1 is 2 million, enter, down arrow, down arrow. CO2 is 1 million, enter, down arrow, down arrow. NPV I equals 10, enter, down arrow, compute, and your net present value is $1,644,628. And then IRR, compute, and you get an internal rate of return of 141.6%. 1.42%. Wow, what a great return on your investment. But you got two projects, A and B. You can only do one of them. Okay? Which one do you do? Well, this is a better return on your investment, but this one creates much more dollar value. So you do project A. All right? Why should you use multiple techniques to evaluate projects? So we use net present value, internal rate of return, and payback method. And projects, the reason why we use as many techniques as we can is because we operate in an uncertain environment. Projects are based on forecasts, so we do scenario analysis and we do sensitivity analysis. And forecasts are subject to errors. Therefore, we use multiple techniques to build solid cases to determine which projects to pursue. We are working in an uncertain environment. We gather as much information as we can. We apply scientific techniques, and we build the best case that we can and make the best decision we can based on the information that we have at the time. Okay, that's all she wrote. Chapter 9 is in the books, and we'll come back and look at Chapter 10, Projecting Cash Flows, next. Until then, I remain devotedly yours, Dr. E. Peace out. Shalom.